What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Hopefully, everyone is doing well, staying safe, and having a great day so far. Welcome to the Sunday Weather Update for Sunday, July 7th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily weather update for the United States, and we talk about the tropical weather and anything else in between. Today, our big focus is going to be on Tropical Storm Beryl, which is aiming itself towards Texas and expected to make landfall there overnight tonight or early tomorrow morning. So if you're new around here, welcome to my channel. Subscribe down below. Give this a thumbs up. The more people that give this a thumbs up, the more YouTube pushes this out throughout the algorithm. Hit that notification bell. Share these videos with anyone you know. And of course, leave a comment down below. Alright, taking a look at Tropical Storm Beryl. It is still a tropical storm. It has not regained hurricane status just yet. You can see it's not terribly organized, but there is some convection that may be trying to wrap around a little bit. When we take a look at the radar picture, you can see here on the northeast side, there is some convection trying to wrap itself up, and we do note here that there are some showers and thunderstorms starting to head towards the Corpus Christi area. Taking a look at the latest information from the National Hurricane Center, which literally just came in. It has intensified a little bit. It was 60-mile-per-hour winds at 7 a.m. update. It is now up to 65-mile-per-hour winds, 992 millibar pressure, and it is moving northwest at 10 miles per hour. They also say the following: Beryl becoming better organized and forecast to become a hurricane before landfall. Preparations should be rushed to completion. Let's take a look at the latest track, and you can see the latest track here from the Hurricane Center does have it making landfall before 7 a.m. on Monday, somewhere northeast of the Corpus Christi area, but just to the southwest of the Galveston area. So that's the area where they are expecting landfall as a hurricane, and it probably will become a hurricane by at some point this evening. Then it's going to take its time to move over Texas. Probably won't be until maybe Tuesday morning till it gets out of Texas. So actually, I should say, that's actually a pretty quick passage through Texas. But where it will take its time is moving through the rest of the United States. And it's going to go through Arkansas. It's also going to make stops up in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, as a depression at that point, but you will see some remnant rainfall from this, and there could also be a tornado threat as the low passes through as well. So we'll get to that in just a bit. Let's go back to the Hurricane Center homepage, and now let's take a look at the arrival time for the tropical storm force winds, and that is expected to arrive on all of the Texas coast by 8 p.m. tonight. You will be in tropical storm conditions, and there are hurricane warnings and storm surge warnings that are up along the coast. We'll take a look at that in just a little. Now, taking a look at the tropical models, you can see all of them are in agreement as to where it is going to make landfall on the Texas coast, northeast of the Corpus Christi area. Taking a look at the latest intensity guidance, only one or two members take it back to a Category 1 hurricane. I think this is probably a little underdone, given we're already back up to 65 miles per hour, and it's got time over water. I think it should at least make it back to a weak Category 1 hurricane during the time of landfall. Alright, let's take a look at the other models. Here's the GFS model, and you can see the GFS model does continue with the landfall tonight, and take a look at this. Even though Houston, you're not where the landfall area is going to be, you are still going to see very heavy rainfall. How much rainfall are we expecting in Texas? Take a look at this. You can see here, very heavy rainfall amounts on the GFS, anywhere from 3 to localized 6+ inches of rainfall, and there could even be more than this, because GFS, remember, is just a global model. It is not a mesoscale model. We'll show you the total precipitation amounts from the Weather Prediction Center in just a moment. Taking another look at the GFS, I do want to show you this now. You can see as it moves through Texas, here's the eastern side of the storm. We got to keep an eye on that, because that's where there could be a tornado threat, and wherever this low passes, it's going to go through Arkansas, it's going to go up into Illinois. The eastern side of this will have to keep an eye for a few tornado-warned storms. Then it will eventually make its way up into the Great Lakes by the time we get over to Thursday. Taking a look at the Weather Prediction Center, you can see here there is a gold or yellow shade now that is up along the Texas coast. That is where there could be localized amounts higher than what you saw on the GFS of up to 10 inches of rainfall. Anywhere else in between here in this Other shade you can see here in this other orange shade, I should say, brownish orange, and that's where you're expecting 5 to 7, locally 7 to 10 inches of rainfall. Generally, that's going to be refined to southern Texas coast areas there. And as you get further north, the amounts will start to drop. By the time you get to Arkansas, we're just looking at 3 to 5 inches of rainfall, maybe localized 6 inches. And by the time you get up to the Great Lakes, well, we're just expecting 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. But you do note something else on this map. You do note there is a second area of heavy rainfall. Take a look at this along the East Coast. Remember this boundary we've been talking about for several weeks? Well, it's starting to stall. It's gone through the Philadelphia area. It's gone through D.C. and Baltimore, but just to the southeast of there, it is stalling now. And there's going to be disturbances that develop along this throughout the week. So eventually this may get pulled back northwest a little bit, thanks to Beryl going to the northwest now. Beryl's not going to go further east like the Euro showed the other day, but with Beryl being more to the west, the flow coming out of the southeast, it could actually pull this back to the northwest. Disturbances could ride along this, and there could be some potential for heavy rainfall. You see this here. You do see some red shades showing up in Pennsylvania, which that's 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. Then you do see widespread purples, which is anywhere from 1.5 inches up to maybe localized 3-inch amounts. Even Florida's included in this as well. Florida, you're more so going to see your daily showers and thunderstorms, but some of that could be enhanced by this old boundary that is going to be stalled throughout the week. Taking a look at the Weather Prediction Center, we can see for today there is a slight risk of excessive rainfall up in portions of Oklahoma and northern Texas. That's separate. That's from a severe thunderstorm prospects that could happen today. But then you take a look along the Texas coast, and you do see there is a moderate risk of excessive rainfall. Flooding is expected from not only rain, but also storm surge along the Texas coast as well, where storm surge could be anywhere from 3 to 5 to as much as 4 to 6 feet. Marginal risk of excessive rainfall in the southeast today. That's just from garden variety thunderstorms. Moderate risk of excessive rainfall for much of eastern Texas tomorrow. Very heavy rainfall is expected. Flooding possible. Flash flooding possible. Slight risk does extend into Arkansas and Georgia, South Carolina, and portions of North Carolina. Marginal risk for you tomorrow. And day 3 as we get into Tuesday. Taking a look at Tuesday, from portions of Arkansas on up into Missouri and Illinois, there is a slight risk of excessive rainfall. Flash flooding is possible, and there is a marginal risk in the northeast on Tuesday. Taking a look now at the national hazards map, and we do see a lot of things going on here. We see heat. It continues to be an issue on the west coast. This is an extremely dangerous heat wave in California. This is truly historical. Heat indexes and temperatures have been over 120 degrees in some places. That is dangerous. That's a life-threatening heat wave. Then we move into Texas, and I am going to zoom in on this, and you can see here that in Texas, like Galveston area, there are storm surge warnings. Like I said, once again, 3 to 5, maybe even localized 4 to 6 feet storm surge is possible. There are also hurricane warnings up along the coast. Houston, you're under a tropical storm warning at this time. There are also already some flood watches that are up across portions of Texas as well. Then we take a look in Oklahoma and portions of Kansas, where flash flooding is a threat for today, and it is already ongoing. Let's take a look at the radar picture. Going back for a second, let's take a look at the enhanced radar picture, and you can see here there is some slow-moving, heavy rainfall in the Oklahoma City area this morning. The heaviest looks to be to your southeast now, but there is another batch that is moving into your area, so be mindful. Turn around. Do not drown. All right, moving on now. Let's stick with radar for a second. Here is a wider view of Beryl, and you can see Beryl, it is trying to wrap up, and as it does, once again, it's worth saying, it will regain hurricane status. You could also see some Beryl-related storms today across portions of western Louisiana. Speaking of storms, let's head over to the Storm Prediction Center. Yesterday ended up being a rather stormy day in the Central Plains, with 190 total storm reports. There were also some isolated storm reports on the East Coast as well. 5 reported tornadoes, 112 wind reports, 3 of them being high, 73 hail reports, 8 of them being large. Once again, 190 storm reports total. So far, no reports received for today. But taking a look at today, you can see Oklahoma and Texas, there is a slight risk of severe weather for you. But then there is also a slight risk of severe weather along the Gulf Coast from western Louisiana into Texas. Why? Because there is the threat of isolated tornadoes today with Beryl. There's also a wind threat that sets up from Oklahoma and portions of Texas. And then there is also a hail threat there as well. Day 2, the threat does continue for tornadoes in western Louisiana, Arkansas, and portions of Texas. Also 2% all the way up into Missouri. There's a small wind threat and a hail threat as well, and the hail threat being in southwest Texas for a different reason. Taking a look at what's going on with day 3, marginal risk of severe weather for the isolated tornadoes from Tennessee, portions of Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. I suspect that may get upgraded to a slight risk down the line. Let's take a look at the longer range now and see what happens. We'll look at the GFS. I think we may look at the European as well. And you can see on the GFS, Beryl does continue to go to the north and then turn to the northeast to go over the Great Lakes. But look at this on the East Coast. You can see showers and thunderstorms do develop daily, and that actually gets enhanced later in the week. Look what happens in South Carolina. You can see there is a disturbance that starts to develop along that old frontal boundary. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. There could be some training heavy rainfall segments and some flash flooding that could develop, say, Thursday, Friday, maybe even Saturday morning. It's going to finally try and push to the east Saturday morning, but take a look at the Carolinas and Florida. It does continue for you before eventually trying to get off the coast early next week. And then look what happens. Another system sets up. Then a trough tries to come down across portions of the Great Lakes, and watch what happens. That doesn't get all too far to the south. That stalls, and yes, more heavy rainfall in the long range. Now let's reverse this. Take a look at the west coast now. And you can see on the west coast, relatively quiet conditions, and you continue to stay hot through all of next week. The Four Corners region could see some precipitation down the line. Taking a look now at the European, we're going to take this back to the 0Z run, and you can see here, there goes Beryl. Beryl goes over Texas. Beryl does its thing across the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes and Illinois, and there will be that isolated tornado threat that's going to continue through at least Wednesday. But take a look over Pennsylvania with Beryl. You can see some heavier rainfall does set up some slow-moving storms, and we do have this boundary that kind of rejuvenates a little bit across portions of the southeast and eastern Pennsylvania as Beryl pushes to the north. And watch what happens. We do get some training segments of heavier rainfall, which we're going to have to watch right into the weekend. Yours a little bit slower. You can see here, we're at Saturday, and it's still trying to clear the coast. It does eventually clear the coast, though. Unlike the GFS down in the southeast, things do dry out a little bit. And this is needed rainfall for places like Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, the Delmarva. You do actually need this rainfall, so it's something that will be welcomed, but there is going to be a lot of moisture in the air. So any of these storms that set up could produce very heavy rainfall rates, maybe in excess of 2 inches per hour. Long-range European, you can see here, precipitation does set up western Texas and across the Rockies. You do get beneficial rainfall, so we'll have to watch what happens with that. All right, taking a look at the Climate Prediction Center. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, well above average across the northern plains and the northern Rockies and the west coast. That's going to continue slightly above average across Texas and Oklahoma. The northeast above average, and the rest of the east coast above average as well. Slightly above average precipitation along the east coast thanks to that stalled boundary. Near normal in between, below average in the northwest, above average for Texas and the Four Corners region. Not much rainfall expected for California. And 8 to 14 day temperature outlook is above average across much of the U.S. And taking a look at the 8 to 14 day precipitation, equal chances for above average precipitation from portions of the Great Lakes across much of the East Coast and back through Texas and into the Four Corners region. Below average continues on the West Coast. California, you may hardly even see a drop of rainfall. Alrighty, want to follow me when I am not doing videos? Well, you can go over to Climate Data Report on X. That's where you can follow me. I do tweets there throughout the day, sometimes in the overnight hours, as I see things happen. Alright, hopefully everyone enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. subscribe down below, hit that notification bell, and share this video with anyone you know, and remember to leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all again tomorrow. Until I see you again tomorrow, stay safe if you're in the path of Beryl, and have a fantastic Sunday afternoon.